let's welcome Jorge de Garay, a member of the Board of Directors of the Mexican Association of Public Relations Professionals and a newly elected member of the 2020 PRSA Board of Directors. Jorge will introduce our keynote presentation. Jorge.
Good morning. Thank you, Deborah. I must admit that it's a huge responsibility to present a former president, something I never imagined to do. So I will try to be as brief as possible because I know we all want to hear Vicente Fox, a man who is aware of what he is capable of doing, a man whose dreams have aimed high because he knows he has the potential to achieve them, despite any obstacles that come his way. A visionary leader with a deep understanding of the economic and social challenges facing Latin America. President Vicente Fox remains one of the world's most important voices of the contemporary geopolitical landscape and the role of business in the developing world. When elected to the presidency of Mexico in 2000, he broke the strange hold that the ruling party, Institutional Revolutionary Party, had held on the country for 7 decades. A charismatic reformer, President Fox is credited as playing a vital role in Mexico's democratization and with strengthening the country's economy. After leaving office in 2006, he and his wife, Martha, founded Centro Fox, a nonprofit dedicated to discover, exercise, and harness the leadership qualities we all have inside of us. Vicente Fox is a family man with solid values and high spirit of service. He is direct, persistent, transparent, and with a deep love for Mexico. Vicente Fox is also a simple man. He likes to listen and learn from others because he believes that dialogue tears down walls and builds bridges. This planet urgently requires humans to be more human, and Vicente Fox certainly is. Finally, I must add that he is, without a doubt, a loyal friend. It's a privilege for me to welcome to our conference Vicente Fox, former President of Mexico.
¿Cómo estamos, jóvenes? ¿Cómo están? ¿Cómo están? Mucho gusto. Felicidades. ¡Viva México! ¡Viva!
Good morning, everyone. It is such an honor and a privilege. You know, we really are in Mexico because California used to be part of Mexico, so welcome to Mexico. This is best book I ever read. I didn't write it, I wish I had, is President Fox's book, Revolution of Hope. And I also have to mention, we love you, Marta, so much. When we found out that you were getting married, all of us were so excited, saying, he's marrying a public relations, person. And here, so here we go. Your story is really the story of the American dream. Tell us a little bit about your grandfather that came from America to be part of the American dream. And Pancho Villa, too, because that was interesting as well.
Thank you very much. Morning, buenos dias
Buenos
to
dias.
everybody. My grandfather, born in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was a migrant that came from Strasbourg and further back from Ireland. So I come from a migrant family. That's why I love them so much. That's why migrants are my heroes. That's why I love them. Because also on my mother's side, the family comes from Spain, from San Sebastian, where the very best cooks, chefs of the world are, right there in San Sebastian. But yeah, my grandfather, when he was up to 28 years old, he didn't have a good job in Cincinnati. Let me tell you what kind of a job he had. He would be on the backyard sacrificing the hogs for the butcher that would sell the meat out on the street, right in front of that house. So he didn't like so much hearing the cry of the hogs, so he decided to move, looking for his American dream. He crossed mountains, rivers, borders, and finally he reached this beautiful place, Guanajuato State, within Mexico, central Mexico. What I understand is that he was heading down further to Cuernavaca, the city of eternal spring, the most beautiful weather around the world Cuernavaca has. But we don't know why he got off the train in Irapuato, state of Guanajuato. And he started working as a night watchman for a horse carriage company. And what I'm surprised is that he didn't have the vision to change the horse for an engine, like Mr. Ford did later. But anyway, he worked there for 10 years. He became the owner, the CEO of that company. And then he acquired the ranch, San Cristobal, where we live up to today, 5 generations farming, 5 generations following the example of my grandfather, following his American dream. But that dream now is the dream of the Americas. We dream the same that you dream here. We dream in Mexico, in Chile, in Argentina, everywhere. We dream for a better world. We dream for a world that unites all of us in working specifically for those who do not have the opportunities, be close to them, and help them out. And that's what we do at Centro Fox, but we will tell you later.
Thank you. In honor of you, President Fox, we have mariachis playing music especially for you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
You know, this song speaks about bulls, about cowboys, and about bullfighting. And my grandfather at the ranch, he had fighting bulls. And when I was a kid, I used to fight them, but never treat them bad or kill them. Just for the art of it, I would do it. Fortunately, bullfights now are forbidden most everywhere in the world because it's a violent kind of game. Hola.
Gracias. Thank you so
Gracias.
much. Thank you. Thank you. There you go. You know that yours is an amazing story, and it is a story about the American dream. When you finished business school, you worked as a business person, then you got tired of it, and you became a Coca-Cola driver, and totally changed, moved from Pepsi being, having the market share to Coke, and then 9 years later, you became CEO of Coca-Cola. How did that all happen so quickly?
Well, I guess that happens within. When you discover your leadership that we all have within, we learn so many things that we can do so far and so high that we can get. But first, you have to discover that thing within you. And we all are leaders, each and every one of us. But you go within, you ask yourself, who am I? What am I in this life for? What is my purpose? And purpose is a very meaningful word. It's a very strong word. As a matter of fact, there is no human action that does not start with a purpose. So a leader has to know himself and has to learn and define its purpose. And there is not only one purpose in life, which is most important. It's purpose for everyday actions that we have. And that's what makes the leader different, almighty, all-powerful. You can dream high, and you will get there. This is where I started as a route salesman with the Coca-Cola company in Mexico and delivering the boxes of Coca-Cola to the mom and pop stores. But since that very first day, I decided that my purpose within business and the Coca-Cola company was to reach to the top. And that happened. That happened because then you address all your energy, all your capacities, all your talents, all your knowledge just to get there. And believe me, you get there always. And that's why we teach leadership at Vicente Fox to thousands of kids, humble kids, that come to the Presidential Library for a 6-hour learning about leadership. And the message is very, very basic. You were not born to be poor. You were not born to be a migrant. You were born to do great things in your life. And we repeat, and we take that in their minds, and they go back home with a new energy, with a new purpose, where they have decided to have a successful, happy life. That's exactly where you ignite the leadership resources and the leadership capacities.
You know, thank you. Mr. President, you talked, when we talked last night, you talked about leadership, and you talked about the difference between Machiavellian leadership and Jesuit leadership. Can you share that with the audience?
Yes, well, yeah, of course, there are leadership that transcends and leadership that doesn't take you anywhere. You have awful leaders like Napoleon, like Hitler, like so many of them, but they don't transcend the way a leader with compassion, a leader that understands that we're in this life not only to look for our own happiness, but also to work for the happiness of the other, to put ourselves in the shoes of the other, to work with him and develop him. That's Jesuit education. That I had from kindergarten all the way up to university. All my life was through Jesuit schools. And only one principle is the priority and the most important, is being for others. Is finding your shortcut to happiness by being for others. And that's been our life, Martha and myself. I'm a Jesuit, she's a Teresian, which is exactly the same philosophy. Work for the other, and you will find happiness for yourself. Give, and you will get more in return. So that's exactly what we work for, as I said, in our place. And as president, as governor, as head of the Coca-Cola company, same principles applied.
You had one of the most remarkable, Time magazine, when you became president, made you as the Newsmaker of the Year, because you had one of the most interesting ascendancies to president from being governor, and also being from a party, also being not part of the autocracy for 72 years. How did you also had the Schwarzenegger effect in terms of, he's very different, just so you know, he's wonderful. But in trying to be president, because of the laws, because you weren't the 100% Mexico, can you talk about the things that you did became governor, and then you were the dark horse, there's no question, and when you became president?
Well, again, you depart on one decision. And my decision was that I wanted and needed to move from private sector, from businessman, into politics, working for Mexico. Reasons. Number one, Mexico needed a change after those 72 years of authoritarian government, corrupt government, and there was no choice. Every election, PRI will take the position. So it was needed to end up with all that long time we accumulated so many mistakes and so many weaknesses for our country. So I decided to change. It was not easy because you would get a lot of repression. You would not get access to media, campaigning. Everything would go against you. And that's what I loved. Because the other thing leaders need is challenges. Challenges so that you get stronger and so that you get further. In the right word is adrenaline. I love adrenaline that you get from fighting, either bullfighting or fighting for a marketplace, fighting for competing favorably with your opponent. And that adrenaline also was part of this. And thirdly, just Martha and the ideas that we developed together. We grew in politics together on the same political party, and we nourished each other. We gave us courage and purpose. And so we started as grassroots. Then I became congressman for 2 years on a term of 3 years, but I resigned to run for governor. I ran for governor, and twice, because on the first one, the cheating that government would do on electoral processes, I won that election, but they didn't recognize it. So I revealed myself. And again, leaders have to have that inner strength that you need to fight. And so I took the airport, hundreds, thousands, dozens of thousands of people followed me. We closed up the airport for 2 days, right there, International Airport in León, Guanajuato. I'm surprised today that you had to do that, fighting a government like the one we had. And so then the election was annullated, and I ran again. And then I won 3-1 on that next election and became governor of the state of Guanajuato. The state of Guanajuato, by the way, together with Querétaro and Aguascalientes, where we have a population of 10 million people, right there in Mexico, we have 11 state-of-the-art automobile manufacturing plants, right there, the whole cluster. We have GM, we have Chrysler, we have Ford, we have Volkswagen, we have BMW, we have Mercedes-Benz manufacturing in Guanajuato, we have Toyota, we have Mazda, we have Kia, we have everybody's manufacturing there because Mexico today is the most competitive manufacturing place in the world. We're over and above China. And then here comes Trump and says, those Mexicans are taking our jobs away. Not true. We did our homework. We went to school. We became competitive. And that's what you have to do in the world economy. You have to compete. You don't build walls. You build bridges, and you compete. May I extend here a little bit?
Oh, please.
You know, take it as a warning. if you will. There is a new trend in the world of these messiahs, these false prophets that are now denouncing that globalization was a mistake, that it didn't work. They are saying that trading is a lose-lose game, a zero-sum game, that what you gain, the other one loses. Principles that have been in this world for over millions of years. From the hunter-gatherers, they started trading, exchanging. We exchange all day. We buy a car and we do, in our work, we get something else. We trade all day within our city, within our family, within our nation. And now we're canceling what we had developed and discovered as the best tool for creating wealth, which is world trading. And we need that. And of course, you win and you lose, depending on how competitive, how knowledgeable, how you are prepared to compete. U.S. economy has the highest strength on technology, on services, on knowledge economy, on tourism, but manufacturing is not there anymore. Manufacturing is spread out throughout the world. But anyway, these guys claim that we need a new world of isolation, that we need to build walls, that we need to enclose our people, that we need to go back to the concept of nation-state, the powerful nation-state that we had 100 years ago, and nation-states that control their borders, that control their people, that control media, that control everything. I think that's a very dangerous trend that is arising in Latin America, is arising in some other parts of the world, and certainly is here in this nation also.
Thank you. You had amazing relationships with leaders throughout the world. I want to bring up President Bush, and let's talk about the impact of 9/11 too, and everything that we were trying to do before then, and the impact that it had, not only on the world, but on Mexico and all of Latin America.
Yes.
So please talk about President Bush.
Well, we had a great relationship, President Bush and myself. We were on the same years in our respective responsible positions. The very first meeting, both nations that we had, was at the ranch where we are. And he came there to discuss the issues of both of our administration. And we selected one single issue that we wanted to discuss and bring solutions to, and it was migration. And here comes President Bush to San Cristobal, where is your home, all of you, where we live, Martha and I. And he wanted to stop at the hacienda and to visit my mother. And he comes in this beautiful hacienda. My mother welcomes him, and President Bush gives her a big kiss. Well, my mother faded away. The most powerful man in the world coming to San Cristobal, meeting my mother and giving her a kiss. That was it. I mean, he made my day, my mother's day. So then we went to your home, which is on the same ranch where Martha and I live, and he said he wanted to see the horses because he was presumptuous that he was a cowboy. He has a small ranch there in Texas. He's called the Windshield Cowboy. So he comes in, I take him to see the horses, and he tried to give him a little hug, but he was trembling like this. So I learned that he had never been near a horse or had ridden a horse, which I have done all my life. I ride horses all my life. But we had a great discussion. We came with one conclusion: we must solve the migrant issue. We must make that issue to be productive, to be great for our nations. So we decided to go for it. And we started working on it until September 11th, that was just mentioned now. September 11th, that very sad sad day that should never, ever repeat again. And we built up our migration proposal and was presented to Congress by both the executive branch and some congresistas. By the way, Senator Kennedy and Senator McCain came also to the ranch, came also to Mexico City to see me and finish improving the proposal that will go to Congress. So 4 days in advance, September 11th, on September 7th, we came invited by President Bush to a state visit in Washington. We had the opportunity to work for 3 days on visiting and sitting down with the different committees that were assigned to present the bill and to get the approval of it. And everybody, we all were in agreement. I had the honor to address both chambers, Senate and Congress, together. And we were ready to go with a beautiful, nice, excellent, professional, well-developed law related to migration. And unfortunately, September 11th comes in, and everything was stopped. President Bush calls me and says, Vicente, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to proceed with the migration law. It's not the right moment right now, after September 11th, and we're going to set other priorities for my government. So we're going to work on security for the United States and for the whole of the world. And so he changed priorities, he started working, and all what we see around security today, it was his idea. He was stubborn, tough, and decided to bring security to the whole of the world. So that was unfortunate for Mexico that we couldn't get that migration bill out, but on the contrary, we had all this support on security yield here in United States. So that's what happened.
Thank you. I want to bring up a couple things. One is, before your presidency, you had mentioned, even presidents didn't go into churches, and you kind of brought faith back to the country. And can you talk a little bit about that and your time with the Pope as well?
About whom? About what?
About the religion and the faith and with the Pope. Yeah.
Well, you know, in Mexico, same as here, we have this fortunate separation of church and government. But we're Catholics, Martha and myself, and we invited the Pope, and he came to Mexico. And when he came, usually what you do, Martha graciously always does like this, a very nice caravan, and kiss the ring of the Pope. And I did the same thing. And that was the scandal of all scandals in Mexico. Because they said, press would say, President Fox is submitting to the Pope, to our religion, the representation of the presidency of Mexico. So it was tough, but you know, that's the kind of leadership that you see with the Pope, the kind of leadership that you see with Nelson Mandela, which was a great leader.
Talk a little bit about in your relationship.
Let me tell you, yes, because I don't know if you saw the video the day he's coming out of jail after so many years in jail, and he comes out, and when you look at him and look at his face on that video, you see that he comes in like floating with a determination that he knew where he was going and what was his purpose and the objective of the rest of his life. And this brings me to that precise point about leadership, is once you have a purpose, after a lot of, in the case of Nelson Mandela, years of reflection at jail, he had time to think about himself, he had time to think about his nation, he had time to think about his strategy, he had time to think about where he would be taking South Africa to. That's why he came out of that jail with that strength, that he knew where he was going. So leaders like him are very inspiring. A leader like Lev Walesa, which I met, which has been with us at the ranch several times at the Presidential Library. Lev Walesa, this hero, this guy that by himself, just one single leader, defeated communism, defeated the Russian Empire, the Soviet Union, just one man. And he was a worker on a shipyard. But he knew what his cause was, he knew what he had to do, and without armed forces, without guns or ammunition, just with the power of his word, he changed the world. What about Martin Luther King? I mean, exactly the same. He comes and defeats apartheid because he knew in that speech that he gave right there in Washington that people would follow him and that he had the right cause and the right purpose, and that's all you need as a leader. Then you do it like he did. So fantastic leaders that are on the Loyola side, because the Machiavelli side that you asked me before,
Yes.
Machiavelli says, you gain people's respect by being powerful, by being strong, even pressing people. And yes, people follows you because of fear. They have fear of you, and they come to you. Loyola says, you gain power, you gain capacity to lead by love. And that's the main difference, by love, by dialogue, democratic dialogue, not imposing ideas, not forcing things to happen when you have power, but do it with love, do it with dialogue, which is what is needed today. Because the guy that is president here, he doesn't hear anybody. He just...
Okay, let's move on to Putin.
You know ours. Then let me talk about ours.
Yeah.
López Obrador.
We'll speak
I mean,
Spanish.
he's a stubborn, he's a...
Okay, Putin. President Putin.
President Putin.
Yes.
Okay, let's go to Putin.
Let's go to Putin. Okay.
He's a warm, humane man. No, let me tell you. We were invited, a state visit also to Russia by Putin. We slept at the Kremlin. You don't sleep when you're sleeping on the Kremlin because you imagine phantoms all over that will come and pull your feet. So we couldn't sleep Marta night. So we did other things in the Kremlin that I cannot tell you about. We had a fantastic night. But we had the state dinner on a small table, 6 people sitting there, Senor Putin and his wife, the Mexico's ambassador in Russia, and Matt and myself. Fortunately, Mexico and Russia, we have a pretty good relationship country to country. We trade a lot. We both are oil countries, and we exchange a lot of knowledge about oil. And so we have a pretty good relationship with Russia and Mexico. It works pretty well. And so he gave me, because he knew I used cowboy boots, and he learned that President Bush gave me a pair of cowboy boots, so he couldn't stay behind. So Putin gave me this army, Russian army boots, splendid, beautiful boots up to here, black. And he gave me 2 pair to do more than what President Bush had given me.
Let's talk about, since we're on a roll, let's talk about Fidel Castro.
Oh, the best conversationist that I ever met in my life. And we were twice with him. During the day, he used to go to sleep. He disappeared from the scene. During the night, he will receive all visitors, cabinet. So he will dispatch matters at night. So usually he receives you after 10 o'clock at night for dinner. And his conversation is so wide, well, it was so wise, so splendid. We spoke about Rioja wines. We spoke about buffalo milk. She has some buffalas, feminine buffaloes, to milk because he would drink buffalo milk every day. And he said the best, healthiest life you can have is have buffalo milk and Rioja wines. And conversation all night long. He releases you 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning with your big box of cigars. I used to smoke cigars. Great. He gave me a couple of boxes, 12 boxes of 50 cigars every year for Christmas since. And so I accumulated boxes of cigars at home. They are still there. If you want to come and join to have a cigar.
And then at the UN, you voted, yeah.
But you know, in leadership, it's everything. You find everything. The very warm, the very intense dialogue ones, the very committed ones with their cause and their beliefs. It's extraordinary to meet leaders. But let's not forget, here you are. Each and every one of you is a leader. Each and every one of you has those capacities that we were gifted by God. Because in school, they tell you that leaders are a select caste, that is very special people. It's not true. It's not true. We all are leaders. And we're leaders all the time of our life in any activity that we like to act upon. So we're all leaders, and this is why we teach those kids. And number two, usually you refer to followers as the second class, those who follow the leader. That's not true either. We played both roles, all of us, each one of us. For some challenges or some activities, we are the leader. But for others, we join leaders for other causes and other things. It's a teamwork. Everybody's there. So we have changed a little bit the concept of leadership so that our kids that we invite to come from schools, we invite the 40 of them of one school, not the selected one. We invite all of them to treat them the same and to push them to the same levels of leadership. And it's working excellent what we're doing there.
You know, it's really wonderful because of the tens of thousands of students that come through the President for a Day program. They leave saying, I want to be president, I want to be an architect, and it is really a beautiful, yes, beautiful thing. In the few moments we have left, I want you to talk a little bit more about your foundation, because I know you have programs for children, you're doing research, you're helping people with spinal cord injuries, you're doing so much. Can you talk a little bit about that, President?
Okay, let me start with the day that we came back from Los Pinos, which is the White House in Mexico, on our final day, the day after we finished the administration. We flew for the last time those beautiful Puma helicopters. So we flew from Mexico City and landed directly in the ranch. And to our surprise was there the 80 members of the family, the grandsons, the granddaughters, the uncles, the fathers, the mothers, everybody was there. And first thing, you cry. I mean, when you get out of the helicopter, Martin and I were just crying to see the warm reception of the family, which is the best thing that we have in Mexico, the family. It's really the place where you get strong, where you get beliefs, where you get knowledge, but mostly where you get love. I would come back from Mexico City, the 6 years that I was president. Every other week, we would come to the ranch, be with the family, enjoy the family, and then come back to work on Monday with all the strength and capacities of the world. So we cried it and we went home. I sat down there, we sat, Martha and I, looking at the window, and we said, now what, Martha? What are we going to do now? No, she asked me, and I said, well, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to go horse riding right now. But she said, no, wait. What are we going to do the rest of our lives? And then we had visited presidential libraries in the United States, and we liked them. Very interesting concept. And we decided to go for a similar concept to build a presidential library right there in the ranch where our roots are. And that presidential library came out beautiful because it's built on the barn, on the old cow stables and the old horse stables, brick built 350 years ago. And that's where we brought concrete, glass, steel, and made a blend of the old and the new, which came out with a fantastic architectural piece, which is where the presidential library is. So we decided to go for that, and then we created another two foundations. One is called Vamos Mexico, dedicated to health, to mobility. We have given thousands of wheelchairs in this last 10 years to many, many people in the region. We do nutrition and protein, which is very important for NGOs that attend kids or for kids themselves in the school. So that's what we do there. And finally, we inherited one other foundation by the name of Crisma, which is in San Miguel de Allende. How many of you have gone to San Miguel de Allende? Raise your hands. Oof. Only 10%. The remaining 90%, please come to paradise. Please come to San Miguel de Allende. Beautiful, beautiful place, worthwhile visiting, and a great place to stay. And at the same time, you can visit our presidential library. It's only 1 hour away, one from the other. But this foundation is dedicated to brain damage persons, severe brain damage. That foundation was created by an American lady retired in San Miguel de Allende, and she got up to be 94 years old and decided to quit. She couldn't carry on anymore, so she looked for us, and we took the responsibility. We moved from 22 patients or people that she would attend. Right now we're attending 276, and we just inaugurating in 2 weeks from now the new facility, splendid, state-of-the-art, where we're going to attend 500 plus people with severe brain damage of the region, most of them poor families and humble families. No effort to do that. Every morning, Martha and I wake up full of joy. I mean, what are we going to do today? Where are we going to raise the money? Because it's not our money on these three foundations. We raise money all day. And when we try to call Carlos Slim and say he's a friend and he's on the board of the foundation, and when we call him, he tells the assistant, tell him that I'm not here. The faxes again, asking for money. And that's what we do in life, ask for money. Thank you, by the way, with your contribution for us being here. You donated altogether, them, good amount to sustain those kids. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It is one of the great privileges of our lives to have you here, President, and Marta, and one of the great love stories of all time. It means the world, and we hope that you continue your work and continue to speak out on issues. And we really love you both very much. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you. So next time we can talk about presidents.
Yeah.
Next time. Martita. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you.